How does a coaching session actually work? So what's it made up of? Well, a coaching session has three distinctive parts to it. First of all, the opening of a coaching session is all about clarifying what the actual problem is. And you want to spend as much time here as possible. I've sometimes spent half an hour just clarifying the problem, getting really clear on what the actual problem is. Now in coaching, there's two types of problems. There's what's called a safe problem and there's a risky problem. A safe problem is usually what we call the surface problem. So it's the thing that the client is mostly aware of. Now the risky problem is usually the core problem, or I like to call it, it's the real problem. It's the problem that they've actually got. So what do I mean? So say for example, a client comes to you and they've got the problem of procrastination. And they're saying, well, I'm procrastinating when it comes to my business. That would be the surface problem. Or you could say the safe problem. Now, the risky problem, we need to work that out. Everyone's got a different one, but we're going to ask some great questions just to clarify what's the actual problem that we're going to be solving here. And so for most people, when it comes to procrastination, the risky problem could be a fear of failure. So it's like, what's the thing underneath it that's driving this? I like to also call this the deeper structure of the coaching session. Maybe it's a fear of success, but there's something underneath procrastination that they're avoiding. And initially in the coaching session, we want to ask some great questions to clarify that, because that gives us the real beginning of the coaching session. We don't want to coach the wrong thing. We don't want to coach procrastination. We want to coach what is causing procrastination. So that's the first part. The second part is then we want to get really clear on, okay, what's the goal here? Where do we want this to be? And a really well-defined problem and a well-defined goal is half of the work in a coaching session. This is a big mistake that a lot of people make in coaching, is they don't get really clear on the problem and they don't get really clear on the goal. Now, the goal might seem obvious for every single client. We'll stop procrastinating, but it's not, and it's different for everyone. So for example, I would say, well, once this procrastination is gone, what do you want life to be like? Tell me about it. What's the goal here? What's this really about? Where are we heading? And I'll ask some really great questions to help the client get really clear on where are they ultimately heading in life. And the reason why we do this is because we want the client to connect emotionally with where they're going, because with enough of an emotional why or reason for doing this, they will be more likely to overcome whatever little challenges are kind of in their way as they go along the journey. So that's the second thing. The third thing is to actually do what's called the change work. And that's kind of like the major middle part of the coaching session. So initially it's get really clear on what's the actual problem. Then we want to get clear on, okay, where are we heading? And maybe is it about letting go of this, and maybe it's letting go of procrastination so I can have more personal power. Maybe it's so I can be the best that I possibly can. Maybe it's so I can be a better father, a better mother, whatever it is for the client. Then we want to do what's called the change work. And so the change work is the actual process of letting go of the problem. There are no things that we need to change, just things that we need to let go of. And a lot of the time in the world, the way it works is you'll work with a client who's held on to a lot of ideas, a lot of beliefs from the past, things that are no longer serving them. And we want to help the client to let go of what no longer works so they can make space for the new them. That's a 3-step overview to how to do a coaching session. Now, if you've loved the sound of that, if you'd like to know more about it, if you're inspired by the idea of becoming a coach yourself, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and click the link below. You'll head over to another page where I will invite you to come along to a broadcast. It's a wonderful opportunity to find out more about coaching and see if this is something that you can really bring to life in your own life and become a successful coach.